Whatever the year was Susan born, 6 months of the year. What month of the year was Susan born, 6 months of the year? Oh, she fought for a better world to see, and she gave her life for you and me. And her dreams in the hands of you and me, every day of the year. Every day of the year. Every day of the year.
I'd like to welcome you tonight to a very special edition of the PeaceSmiths Coffeehouse. I'm Judy Sanford, guys. I'm one of the trustees of for PeaceSmiths. You've all, I'm sure, met Margie Carr, another board member. If you haven't met her doing business and she works at the door, it's a reminder that any contribution to PeaceSmith is definitely appreciated and definitely needed. I'd like to give you a little bit of an update on some of the things that we've been doing, and certainly in the last month since we were at the last coffee house. It's been an active month, reorganizing. We're trying to move forward with the transition after the loss of Susan. So there are some interesting and some exciting things going on. Some things are going faster than we expected. Some are definitely slower. But there's some, well, this is the second coffee house. But Friday evening, January 18th, is going to be a presidential candidates forum as part of the forum series. As you know, PeaceSmiths is a 501c3 organization. We're an educational and arts organization. So we are not involved with campaigns, but we offer an opportunity to anyone who's running for, who will be on the ballot on February 5th, the presidential primaries. We're inviting all of the campaigns the opportunity to come address you and to address us on their positions on peace, social, and economic justice issues. It's giving, excuse me? Anyone who is going to be on the ballot on February 7th will be, is being invited to speak on those issues. They can choose if they're coming, Anyway, that will be Friday the 18th, and that's the next issue of the forum. We're also we've also had several committees that are being started. Right now, the boards are meeting on a regular basis to try to look at where we are. There's some administrative things and financial things that we need to work on. But as last month, we asked that you tonight write down and indicate the areas of interest to you. We're particularly excited by one thing is because we are working on the library and on the archives. For the plan for this evening, we are going to be having an opportunity to talk about Susan. And this is actually the second of 3 opportunities that we will be having. The last coffee house, there was a lot of healing and discussion and quietly amongst people about Susan and her meaning to us. And tonight is an unstructured opportunity, an open mind format to share our thoughts and briefly thoughts and memories about Susan. But on that same weekend as the Candidates Forum, and it is the MLK weekend, we are going to be having the formal, official, celebratory event for Susan's life. And it will be a more structured event, certainly, than tonight. And that is going to be Sunday afternoon, January 20th. And it's going to be at the site will be the Unitarian Universalist Congregation at Shelter Rock in Manhasset. And a lot of information will be going out about that. But we hope you save the date. But that will be a more formal opportunity, a more formal event celebrating Susan's life. And tonight, I think we'll have the opportunity to share more private moments about her. I would like to, at this point, introduce and call up, and I'm looking for her. There you are. Kimberly, who I'm very pleased to introduce you formally as the interim coordinator for PeaceSmiths. And she has been working non-stop, opening boxes, looking at things, searching things, researching, making calls, emailing, and I would like you to welcome her as well.
A couple of people said, you know, thank you for putting this together, or words like that, but I want you to know that the coffee house is a vibe. The coffee house just happens. So last month, we weren't even decided that the board hadn't really told me much in advance that I might be asked to be an interim coordinator. So it was, we really hadn't had contact with half the people. Like, we didn't know someone was going to be in the kitchen, and we didn't know that we were going to have the sound people. But everyone just kind of magically appeared, like people in a magic forest who have their post and they know what their post is. So actually, I wonder if we can find Carrie's. Carrie's back there. Everyone wave to Carrie. Carrie, wave. Carrie in the kitchen is our stalwart. We couldn't do it without her. And we're going to ask if people want to tell Carrie that they can help other times or be backup for her, that they could. And I think you all see Bill, the sound person, because sometimes he has to be in the front. So thank you to Bill. And Frank is the man who makes the atmosphere with the art and the new seating arrangement. Frank's back there. Everyone wait for Frank. I'm just kind of thinking from now on we should put like notices on the flyers that say "Atmosphere by Frank." Okay, so what we're working on, there's so many different things to work on, and I definitely can't do it alone, but there's so much to do that the board and I seem like we're almost doing it alone because we're too overwhelmed to figure out what to ask for help on. That's the point it's at right now. So in a lot of ways, the deadline or the thing we're looking at is January 20th is so important. It's so important to Susan's sister to have a wonderful event. So I'm hoping that after that we'll all take a deep breath and start welcoming committees up and getting things going a little bit. But there's a lot to do before then. Some of it's going through storage and the archives. So if anybody has a pickup truck, or if anybody has time, especially during the day, on a weekday, because we have to, we might have to bring some of the stuff that was being collected for the yard sale to the thrift stores, it would be really helpful. And let me know if you think you could do that. We're doing like organized crews. And I have to tell you, if you collect clutter, you might want to be warned not to help because everything's so tempting. So some people that I love very much that I know like clutter, I won't even tell when we're doing it because I know they'll collect it. But I wanted to show you some of the fruits of our labor. And that is that in some of the boxes in the garage were copies, but like 50 copies of flyers of all the PeaceSmiths coffee houses throughout the years. And some of you know that Gary Ivan does the artwork on them. So I made some books up with single copies of it. And looking through this is so fabulous because it's all the people that have played at the coffee house. It's all of our friends. It's all of our exes and all of our friends and all of our relatives. Some people have more than one ex again, let's be fair. So Richard Barnhart, who's playing tonight, is in here. And Susan wrote about people in the most beautiful way. So if you're in here, you'll be so honored to remember how she portrayed you. Because if some of you know Israel Halpern. Israel Halpern was written up as world traveler and non-academic scholar. So anyway, so this book is available. I'm going to have it out there for people to look at. And you know, if you know how to do Excel or database or something like that, I can give someone this tonight if they think that they could really commit to it and if they know how to do Excel. Well, one of the projects of the archives, which there's many, there's some valuable literature, there's some valuable art, but one of the things is that we want to remember our history and put in all the performers and a little blurb about the performers in some kind of a database. Then when we're looking for performers, we have it, and that's some of our culture and our history and who PeaceSmiths is. So anyway, so if anyone's interested in this project, I think it's very fun. I've been almost crying reading this. I have this tonight.
I'm the guy without the title, but I get PDFs too. That means I get to do some of the dirty work and tell you the important stuff that we need to know to move through the evening. One thing for the man behind the camera, for the people who will eventually see this, is that we want to tell them this is the PeaceSmiths Show. It's on Channel 20, Wednesday night at midnight. It's also on Harmony Rising Saturday morning at 1 a.m., also on Channel 20. Because of the holidays and everything, the forum was canceled for this month because it didn't make sense. It was going to be the 21st. The forum will return, as mentioned, in January for the presidential, and the coffee house returns in January for the first Friday. And actually, we have somebody here who I believe is going to be one of the features, Steve Schmidt, and we're also going to have Heather Webb, I believe, performing as the two main features that night with the radio open mic. Now, let's get down to the night. I'm going to try and give you some ideas as we go along about how we're doing it. The first performer we're going to have up is Sherry Bush. Sherry and I, for a short time, were actually performing together somewhere, but both of us moved on other places. But she's a wonderful performer with a wonderful voice, and I asked her to do the really hard thing, which is be the first person on stage. After her, I asked Alex to come up and say some words, and then we're going to have one of our anchor performers, Catherine Condon, who's a wonderful lute player that we've mentioned, who's going to give us 15-20 minutes of music, and we'll move on from there. I'll try and keep people informed and give them enough notice ahead of time where we're going. If Sherry wants to come up, we'll get started with her. Thank you, Sherry. Yeah, do whatever you want.
You're allowed. All right. Hi, everybody. I put on the blog, I guess it was, when Susan died, about this one time I went skiing with her, cross country in Consett. And it's so funny because just this past Sunday, I went there and I was wearing the same exact skis that I lent to her. I didn't plan it that way. I just was trying to be frugal and not use my good new ones. And I went on the same exact trail, and like it was really, you know, it was funny and creepy and sad. And I was wearing, you know, it was like I was wearing the same skis that I lent her because she fit into my boots and everything. And you know, it's just I didn't plan it that way, so it was thank you very much. So one song I just had, I'm on a kick. I want to do. Is this that's you? Okay. Oh, do because I saw Ian go like this and it still hurt. All right, and then, whoa, we got a problem here.
Bill looks like it's leaking.
It's going Rub it along. So one song I'm just on a kick to do, and then one song I really kind of want to don't touch it. And one song I want to and there's no background music, as you can see, so, all right. I'm one of a long line of good girls who picked the wrong guy to be sweet on. The girl with the face that says welcome, that men can wipe their feet on. I'm there when he calls me the trusted girl Friday, all right. But what good does it do me alone on a Saturday night? If you need a gal to go without salary and work too hard, you can always count on me. The kind of a pal who'll sneak you a file past the prison guard. You can always count on me. The boss is quite the ladies' man, and that's my biggest gripe. Till I showed up, he never hired a girl 'cause she could type. I'm no femme fatale, but loyal and true as a Saint Bernard, barking up the wrong damn tree. Bear with me, I didn't practice this song enough. I don't need a map, I naturally head for the dead-end street. You can always count on me. I'm caught in a trap when joy is approaching, then I retreat. I'm at home junior prom and met the only married man. I'm always on tap for romance or chocolate that's bittersweet. You can always count on me. I go for the riff-raff that's treating me so sad, when I can play the second fiddle on the virtuoso. I should be playing for a wedding band, but there's not a ring attached, but you can bet there's strings attached. A matter of fact, if you need an ill-fated love affair, you can always count on me. Though I've made a pact to carry out research before I care, men don't give a warranty. One Joe who swore he's single got me kinda crocked the beast. I woke up only slightly shocked that I defrocked a priest. Or else I attract the guys who are longing to do my hair. You can always count on me. Though my kind of dame no doubt will die out like the dinosaur, you can always count on me. I'm solely to blame, my head gives advice that my heart ignores. You can always, I'm my only enemy. I choose the kind who cannot introduce the girl he's with. There's lots of smirking hotel clerks who call me Mrs. Smith. But I've made a name with hotel detectives who knock down doors. Guess who they expect to see? You can always count on, bet a large amount on, you can always count on me. And this is shorter? Okay. Why is my heart so light? Why are the stars so bright? Why is the sky so blue? Since the hour I met you, flowers are smiling bright, smiling for our delight, smiling so tenderly for all the world, you and me. I know why the world is smiling, smiling so tenderly. It is the same old story through all eternity. Love, this is my song. Here is a song, a serenade to you. The world cannot be wrong if in this world there's you. I cannot what the world may say. Without your love there is no day. So love, this is my song. Here is a song, a serenade to you. Thank you.
Also, obviously, if anybody would like to be added to this list and hasn't told me so far, if they want to say a couple words, Gene, and it's great to see you, Gene. Thank you. If they want to say a couple words, do a song, do a poem, let me know in between. And the moment, though, we will bring out something if you guys don't mind. Say a couple words. Thank you.
Thank you for hosting this. I knew Susan from WBAI, and that's one of the communities that she was involved in. I have the fortune or misfortune to be on the WBI local station board at the moment. And Susan was a big believer in the station, and she wanted to see it true to its mission, which is to be the peace and justice radio station of the whole metropolitan area, including Long Island, and Long Island has always had a very big activist center support for WBAI. But Susan and I were involved in some of the internal political turmoil at WBAI. So it's kind of a strange universe to describe, and I'm not even going to try. Just suffice it to say, it wasn't exactly fun most of the time. We sat through many committee meetings and local board meetings and all kinds of things. Sometimes they were very aggravating, sometimes they were just plain boring. But Susan really believed in it, and she always showed up as long as she possibly could. And you know, you had to give her credit for that. I mean, she was, you know, she was more active and had more energy than almost anybody I ever met. And I knew that, of course, that she was very ill at the time. One thing, though, I never managed to do in the 3 or 4 years that I knew Susan from this BAI universe was come to PeaceSmiths Coffeehouse. Well, I finally made it now. Susan always used to mention it whenever I saw her, and I always say, well, I'd like to get down there one of these days. But, you know, it's coming from Brooklyn, it's a little tricky to get down there on a Friday night after work. As a matter of fact, on one occasion, I actually tried to convince Susan that I could be an entertainer here. And I had written a kind of a one-act play. I don't know, did you ever hear it, Bob? It was something like, the title was something like Hegel, Marx, and Nietzsche at the end of History Cafe. And it was a dialogue, and it takes place in this cafe at the end of history. So I thought it would have been this would have been a nice venue to present that. I don't know if Susan bought it, you know. She said, well, I'll think about it, you know. But
go ahead, George.
I figured I'd have a chance. Well, I didn't bring it with me, so you'll have to invite me back on another occasion for that, when I have a proper chance to rehearse it with my fellow acting troupe and all that. But anyway, that was one of the many recollections I had with Susan, and I just wanted to say that she was a very rare person, and I will certainly miss her, and I know that all of us in the part of the WBAI community will feel likewise.
I want to thank you, as I'm sure a lot of people here probably do. I'm a BAI listener. One of my holiday presents is on the way, I understand, from BAI. The Kimberly got me. It's a John Coltrane 2-CD set that sounds wonderful, and I can't wait till I get it. Democracy is hard work. Thank you for doing the work.
And you know the Bob Fast got a program on Susan.
And you know there's a BAI producer behind you, Ahmed Ali. And sorry, 2 of them. I apologize. See what I mean? It's a very friendly room to BAI. Okay, the next person I'd like to introduce is a wonderful musician, Kathy Conlon. She's very modest. She didn't ask me to say much. She's performed here before, and her music speaks for itself.
Well, it's really an honor and a privilege for me to be here tonight. Susan Blake was such a supporter of everyone who might play here, or the poetry and so forth, and she was just a really great and warm person. So I'm very honored. I feel very honored to have been asked to come down tonight and play. She'll be sorely missed. I wasn't a very good friend of Susan's, but whenever I saw her, I always enjoyed talking to her, and she was always happy to see you. And She's a very special person. So I'm going to play just a few songs here. Two that are sort of how I feel about life in general, sort of upbeat sort of songs. And then two, since I'm at PeaceSmiths, this is an appropriate place to play two, I guess, sort of anti-war songs or peace songs. So I'm going to start with a song I wrote called Blessings of the Day.
back in 2003, before, I guess that was just before we went into Iraq, that ill-fated endeavor of George Bush's. And,
His masterpiece.
what's it?
That's one of his masterpieces.
so. But I think too often when people think about going to war in another country, they don't think that every single person in that country is someone's mother, brother, sister, father, and you know, every person you send over there to fight is the same. And you know, each person has so much intrinsic value that we overlook. And this is called, What is the Answer? I guess, anti-war song is kind of an ode to Dick Cheney, and again, that's the way I like to refer to it as. So it's called The Cost. And I guess the words will speak for themselves. Sitting back in your easy chair,
When did you lose touch with all that is real in life? When did the cost no longer matter? And for my last song, I'm going to play a little more upbeat song called The Dance of Life. We got this moment, right, to live fully and mindfully. What have we done to learn in this life? Letting go is that when we really are free to enjoy this moment as never before. Open our eyes to all. Time to let go. It's time to trust this life unfolds as it will. We are here for a fleeting moment, joining the dance of life. Which one of us here knows what's to come? Time to let go of our fears. Time to step out, time to get down. Open your mind to hold. To let go, it's time to trust this life unfolds as it will. We are here for a fleeting moment, joining the dance of life. Do I have it in me to let go of all my burdens? Will I walk the road beside you? Let's take my hand, join in the dance. Yes, take someone's hand. Look around, it's a beautiful world. Lift your head high, reach up to the sky. This is the dance of life. This is the dance of life. Join the dance of life.
This is a great night and a great audience. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm having a great time. The PeaceSmiths phone number is 798-0778 for those who don't know it.
631.
631. The hotline is back up and working and has joined the 20th century. It's now voicemail. Yes, we are just speeding ahead. As everybody knows here, the PeaceSmiths Coffeehouse runs from October to June. It's the first Friday of every month, and it brings to you art and politics. One other thing that I was asked to mention is we have a number of cameras here, but the person who does the PeaceSmiths show faithfully every single month is John Phillips behind the camera, and that's one of the volunteers to be recognized. We have numerous volunteers to keep this place going. There's always Margie's smile at the door. And I will try to remember the words to go on, but everybody here deserves a hand, especially the stalwarts who come early to help us set up, and the ones who stay late to help us put things away. Now, as I said, and we'll have him up in a minute, we were going to have Bob Goldberg up to say a couple words. After him, if we could have Jorge after Bob, if he's still in the room. And I'm not seeing. After Bob, if Jorge could play. And then after that, if we could have Gene Denver say a couple words after Jorge, that would be good. Bob, if you want to come up and say a couple words, we would appreciate it. Thank you. Another public access producer.
Good evening. I'm really glad to see so many people. Susan certainly would want us to keep this going, and it depends upon a lot of volunteers, a lot of talented people to come forward. So we all have to work at that, keep it going. Just a couple words about some experience, one or two experiences I had with Susan, and a little bit about who Susan was as I see it. She really was a brilliant person. She put together this meeting and a public forum, a discussion group each month after month, year after year. And with the help of volunteers, but the brain work was mostly Susan. And that's not to disparage anyone else who helped out. She was a very caring person. You know, I think I first met her during demonstrations at the Nassau County jail. She realized that people who were in jail are still human beings. Particularly jail, you haven't been convicted of anything in most cases. And in Nassau County, it was the only county in the metropolitan area that didn't permit families to visit their children on weekends. That may seem absurd, and it is, but that's the way it was. And Susan realized this. Families would come but weekdays after work. And that was great inconvenience, and the people there deserved being able to see their families, and the families seeing their children. And so she launched this campaign with volunteers. I was one of them, not every month, but frequently, demonstrating with signs in rain and the snow and so on to get the attention of the county and the sheriff, and eventually, with the help of another organization and a large number of people, succeeded in changing the policy at the jail. And today, families are able to come on the weekend as well. So I realized just how much of a caring person Susan was in taking on a job like that. She got no rewards for it, but she's just the someone always concerned about people. Doing this coffee house is another instance where I use the word blessed. You can say those of us who knew her were fortunate, but I would say even blessed, even though I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form. Blessed in bringing young talent here who might not otherwise have an opportunity to perform. You know, we live in such a consumerist mass communications media that we're immersed in, and just to give people opportunities to perform without having an agent, without having to pay off getting on television or whatever people have to do, is a valuable community service to people to develop their talent. She gave us so many examples of quick thinking, of making decisions. Almost, I can only think of one case where she and I differed on something. That doesn't mean that I'm always right either. But I saw her making the right decisions on situations, coming down on the right side of issues, and doing something positive about them if that was called for. I'll just mention one other situation where I was involved with her, and that was involved with our first performer, Sherry. I didn't know that Sherry was even a singer. When I met her, she was a hiker. Susan was part of something called Return the Light to Long Island. How many people remember that or were part of that? This is a very ambitious undertaking of the progressive community on Long Island, from out on the Twin Forks all the way to the Queens line and then even into the city for the Republican National Convention. hundreds of us took part in hiking, marching on segments of that long 150-mile road, I'm not sure, 120 miles, whatever it was. And Susan led us in a contingent, the piece of it that we, Sherry and I walked on, went from Westbury to Garden City to Manhasset, there we go. A whole day of hiking, and it was a wonderful thing. Susan made it pleasant, and these were the sort of activities that, you know, in addition to the coffee house and the monthly forums, she was always involved in some outside activism, and a wonderful example to all of us. So I was very glad to know her.
Thank you, Bob. That was exactly what we were hoping for this evening. There were so many sides to Susan, and people are willing to come out and share them. It's wonderful, so that people who didn't see everything could see different pieces. That was absolutely wonderful, and you're right. It was an absolute genius to what Susan did. As we're ending up on this...
No, we're in a new show. So
we're in a new show.
That's where we are. That's it. We're in a new show.
We're in a new show, okay.
Tell them who we are.
They're training me on this. On the new show, let me say before I forget, this is the PeaceSmiths show on Channel 20, Wednesday at midnight. It's also on Harmony Rising, Saturday morning, 1 a.m., both on Channel 20. PeaceSmiths, this is the PeaceSmiths Coffeehouse. The phone number for PeaceSmiths is 631-798-0778. Now that we heard Bob Goldberg speak, in a minute we will have Jorge come up and do some music for us. Jorge, you have a minute because I'm going to speak for a second here. After that, we're going to hear from Gene Denver, and then after that from Sue Kay. I appreciate everybody working with us. The night is going wonderfully. I'm enjoying it. I hope you all are. Okay? When Jorge has a chance to come up, we'll get started. And if he's good, we'll bring him up, and we'll have a little more music. And we're trying to balance the music and words all evening, so it works for all of us. Good.
I would like to sing this song that Susan did like always she asked me to sing. Por el pájaro enjaulado, por el pez en la pecera, por mi amigo que está preso, porque dijo lo que piensa, yo te nombro libertad. Por la rabia contenida, por el nudo en la garganta, por las bocas que no cantan, por el beso clandestino, por el verso censurado, por el joven exiliado, por los nombres prohibidos, yo te nombro libertad. Te nombro en nombre de todos, por tu nombre verdadero. Te nombro cuando oscurece, cuando nadie me ve. Escribo tu nombre en las paredes de mi ciudad, tu nombre verdadero. tu nombre y otros nombres que no nombro por el temor, por la idea perseguida, por los golpes recibidos, por aquel que no resiste, por aquellos que se esconden, por el miedo que te tiene, por tus pasos que vigilas, por la forma en que te atacan, por los hijos que te matan. Yo te nombro libertades, te nombro en nombre de todos, por tu nombre verdadero, te nombro cuando oscurece, cuando nadie me ve. Escribo tu nombre en las paredes de mi ciudad, tu nombre verdadero, tu nombre y otros nombres que no nombro por el temor. This next song speaks about the immigrants. It's a 14-year-old girl who has to go to the parents. No, it's another history of immigrants. Y a su madre la dejó, y volaba a recordar a su mamá, y padre buscador de libertad. No fue fácil inmigrar dejándola, pasó el tiempo y suspiraba por saber. Fue la guerra quien causó su soledad. En historias de inmigrante ya se fue. A 13 años buscarás valor se fue. Dígame usted el camino que seguía mi papá y la estrella que guiaba a mi mamá. Ella y él es alto como yo y en sus ojos la esperanza de vivir. Ante las estrellas yo brillantes y pensante que la guerra es la crueldad. Esta historia se repite aquí y allá. La justicia fue la ausencia de despertar. Las historias de inmigrantes son así. Y esa herida que en el alma ella sintió, y su madre que su foto se llevó. Lloro al ver que su sonrisa está con él. Y dígame usted, el camino que seguía mi papá y la estrella que guiaba a mi mamá. Ella y él es alto como yo, y en sus ojos la esperanza de vivir. Caminantes en esta historia de inmigrantes, y por las mismas razones que otros antes de emigrar. Extremas pobrezas, persecuciones, violencias, desastres naturales, guerras. Buscadores del derecho de vivir. Y dígame usted, el camino que seguía mi papá y la estrella que guiaba a mi mamá. Ella y él es alto como yo, y en sus ojos la esperanza de vivir.
Foreign music to me is always like love. It's universal. In a minute, we're going to have Jean Denver up. Then after Jean will be Sue Kay and then Richard the Barnhart. Jean I've known even longer than I know Susan. Like Susan, she's somebody who's mentored many, many activists. And I look forward to what she has to say.
I hope you'll really open your ears and bear with me.
Use the mic. If you want to.
I'm going to thank the Wilders for getting in touch with me and letting me know about this event. Actually, I was here last Friday night, and I'm in the same crunch for time that I was then, because African Shenanigans and Tina was having their conference, had one last Saturday and in Brooklyn tomorrow, and I was up 3 o'clock in the morning preparing raw food for them, and I have apparently the same crunch. But I wanted to share something with you because I believe every encounter that we have with one another is very critical because we do not know, apparently, if we'll have the time again. In the time of white Jesus and other fables, in the time of whiteout of the rich in hue and sable, in a time of police killings and the daily grind of TV gutless thrillings, in the time of the same superficially proper and improper etiquette and banality, in the time of the crises of poverty, racial inequity, and genocide, death still catches us by surprise. And we are reminded that some things are real, and no matter how some of us may feel, in this time we pause. Did I know Susan Blake? Most of us would agree she was not plastic and she was not fake. Did I ever help her with lugging and yard sales and demonstrations that were her calling. Some of the old-timers may recall she had a humongous vision for someone so small. She believed in the peace she worked for, indefatigably stretching small donations to plant the seeds of change on Long Island, where the indigenous reservations are still out of range of equality and justice, where 20% of the population makes up 60% of the jail. How could each one of us evolve when there are so many gritty issues to solve? Only by speaking truth to each other, as Susan and I did on each account, can we ever hope to really build the love of the Sermon on the Mount.
Amen.
Gene, thank you. That was great. Thank you. Always. Whew. Okay. Sorry about that. I was also making fun. Up next is Susan K. Sue K. After that, Richard the Barnhart, and then Leonard and I.J. third after that. Okay? So it's going to be Sue, Richard, Leonard, and then Mark. And the reason I'm going so far is I think we're going to take a short break after Mark so we can all stretch. And then we'll come back and we have a bunch of more wonderful, amazing people. Okay? So if Sue wants to come up, thank you, Sue.
This is a improvised thing. I don't write things down. I improvise on the spot. This is dedicated to the first coffee house last month. On October 2nd, 2007, our leader passed away. Did we ever think there would be another PeaceSmiths Coffee House? Yes, there was. All the little elves were in the kitchen preparing the food. Chop, chop, chop the vegetables. Cut, cut, cut the bagels. The spirit of Susan was looking down at us. Yes, they are doing it correctly, but no, they are throwing out the cookies. Ow, no! Oh, no, how can you do that? You're wasting the cookies!
Up next, as Susan has dubbed him, Richard the Barnhart. After that, Leonard and I.J. and then Mark and Greg. And this is going to happen.
I always cause problems. I'm going to read two poems that started out as poems and became songs. And because of the fact that when I came in and I saw 3 or 4 cameras, I decided to keep them as poems tonight because I didn't get time to rehearse them so that they would come out to my liking. The first one is entitled PeaceSmiths Then and Now. Keep the focus on the fixing. Actually, before I read the poem, I want to talk a little bit about the original PeaceSmith meetings. I think I go back, see Les out there, I think that I go back to about 1973, possibly 74, but I think 73, and I would have been 33 years old then, and Susan would have been 20. I wrote this song after Susan first announced her illness, and I sang it at the fundraising event that was held here for her in 2004. Sometime next year, or whenever I eventually have my concerts, I will present it in a manner that's acceptable to me. PeaceSmiths then and now to keep the focus on the fixing. I looked outside the window once and saw the stars and stripes over Massapequa Station in the night. With full moon shining on it, it never looked so pure. Then I gazed at those who strove to make things right. Keep the focus on the fixing that we needed from within. Keep the focus on how far we had to go. So rough but oh so ready. So scruffy but so true. They knew a lot more than our leaders know. The coffee house was held on the first Friday of each month at 90 Pennsylvania Avenue. Recalling of those long-gone days still carries me away. It was 70s to 60s deja vu. And back in 1976, it seemed that 1966 was oh so very, very far away. But now in the new century, it seems that 1966 has come full cycle, and it's here to stay. I always had a reason for the writing of the song. I knew there'd be an audience to hear. Yes, Susan was the coffee house. She kept it going strong as its locations changed from year to year. But whether it's a Quaker meeting house, or church, or bar, or Margie's basement, or a health food store, we know the 60s never have been quite so close as now, and why PeaceSmiths are needed more and more. We know that danger never has been quite so close as now, as PeaceSmiths battle empire-driven war. We started down in the basement of 90 Pennsylvania Avenue and worked our way up to the living room. Okay, the other poem, the other song that I'm going to read as a poem is a sonnet. It's entitled Susan Blake's Bike. She told me early in her disease that she wondered whether breathing in all of the pollution had in any way kindled it. And I wondered about that too. I had mixed feelings about her riding the bike all the time like that. I rode the bike during the Arab oil embargo of 1973. I rode the bike to work, but I was younger then, and there wasn't quite as much pollution on the route that I took. A friend had offered her the use of an extra car that she owned, but Susan didn't want to drive. And I couldn't imagine biking through the winter cold, riding against the wind, but Susan insisted that it was good for her. After admitting that maybe the pollution wasn't so good, she still insisted that all in all, it was a good experience for her. I had my doubts about that. So this is Susan Blake's bike, in memory of Susan Blake. In college, Susan vowed no more to drive. When at the wheel, she hit a cat upstate. It had the right to live and stay alive, she countered, when her biking might be rate. 2 times I saw the bicycle she'd ride. The first was on a cold, bleak winter day. The snow came down and covered it outside the nursing home where her Mom Betty lay. The second time was only this past spring, deep in a hallway of First Methodist, its basket filled with plant sale wares to bring to her small garden. Lord, how she'll be missed. Her bike was old and worn, not worth the steel, but oh, what tender thoughts those times reveal. Thank you.
Richard, thank you, and thank you for coming out tonight. As I mentioned, next we're going to have Gwen and IJ in a minute, then Mark Finkel, then a break, short one, 5 minutes. Of course, some announcements are there, because we must have announcements. Then after the break, just to give people a quick heads up, and then we'll get back to the program. Max Wheat, and then Mike Kornfeld, and then one of Max Wheat and Mike Kornfeld after that. But for the moment, right now, we'll have Leonard Lehman, I believe, on piano, and IJ, I believe, has an original song.
I'm Leonard Lehman. I have a nice little announcement to make. As of January 1st, I'm the music director of composer in residence of another Methodist church, the United Methodist Church of Huntington and Colchester Harbor. That's happened. Thank you. I'm looking forward to say. And I know Susan would appreciate that too. I only knew Susan the last 2.5 years. I too met her through WBAI, but I spoke with her or saw her just about every day of those last 2.5 years. She became very, very close to us. And there are pictures of her over there, 20 of the over 200 pictures that we have. And we also have video of her, very rare video of her performing, which I hope we're going to be able to share with you, some of it after the celebration of her life in January. I want to introduce to you a student of mine, and my wife, Helene Williams, couldn't be here tonight. This young woman studies voice with Helene. She studies composition with me. And this is her second time at PeaceSmiths. She was here running the lights, along with Frank, for E.G., a musical portrait of Emma Goldman that Helene and I did here last March. But this is the first time that she's actually going to be singing for you. Her name is Ijeoma Merenini, or IJ, and she was planning to sing, and she's going to sing, second, a song that she performed at Queens College with Susan on a program in memory of Morris Shappius for his 100th birthday last May. It's an Nellie Siegmeister song, which is really what PeaceSmiths is about, I think. It was written by Siegmeister and Langston Hughes in 1951. It's called Chalk Marks on the Sidewalk. But I have another surprise for you that he mentioned. This morning she came to her lesson with a brand new song in memory of Susan. It's called Losing Someone You Love. And she's going to sing it for you tonight for the first time anywhere.
Thank you. If everybody loves everybody.
Communist.
Why are we social democrat here?
Or religious.
Right.
But that's for another discussion. Before we take our break, we have something that I've never seen anywhere else. Mark Finkel.
I've known Susan for 28 years. I think the first three people who met me besides Susan when I walked in the captain's living room, Randy Greenhouse, Lisa Fishfly, and Matt Birnbaum. Of course, none of you remember Matt Birnbaum, but he's unforgettable. That's a story in itself. And funny less, Susan had something in common with me that I think very few people actually remember, a total sense of the absurd, besides the political sentiments in mine, which slightly were different. I was like the quantum leap to the right. But the answer is, Susan and the first thing I ever said to Susan when I walked in the captain's living room, this is my folk show the rest of my life. And now I'm going to lead you in a sing-along. Why not? And the sing-along was one of the most bizarre sing-alongs, with, I guess, the writer of Social Democrat Zero Mostel there, when you would say 25 cents. We'll read. I do what I want to do. I do what I can. I do what I want to do. But I love you, Suzanne. Can you do that after me? I love what I want to do. Come on. Love what I can. Do what I can. Do what I want to do. But we love you, Suzanne. We come every Friday night. You know, whatever the crazy song of the moment was, I would actually come in and sing it. You know, I would do like a John Hyatt or, you know, whatever the thing was. And Susan gave a damn. The S word. She actually got a big damn. In the context of this island, what I used to call the Golden Triangle, to paraphrase Chomsky, of republicans, corporations, and finally the religious right. Susan was a stellar opposite in some of the most darkest times of our period. I believe the darkest times as something on the opposite end of the left called the scoundrel times of our generation. I tremendously miss Susan. You know what? We disagreed on so many things, and our tenor and the way we acted was so totally different. We had a good time here. I'm going to miss her so much. And I salute Ian and Kimberly. I believe Jim Prevo and I, before even Susan died, said, listen, Kimberly has to be here to finish this, because she's the only one confident enough with Ian Wilder and the Blockheads to continue this little operation. We love you, Susan. We miss you. Let's continue. Rock and roll.
Compared to most of you here, I knew Susan for like a minute. It seems I only got close to her in the last couple of years. And we had special times driving to Suffern and back. And actually, the last trip we took to Suffern, Susan gave me lessons in public speaking because she knew more than anybody how much I hate speaking into a microphone. So to do her justice. Suffolk Peace Network with the Bean Festivals Incorporated. I don't know if you're aware of the Bean Festival, but they hold a musical concert in the park every summer. And we decided to join forces, have young musicians along with peace activists hold an event. And we're having one on Sunday, January 6th from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Cinema Arts Center. We appeal to high school, college-age musicians to come and perform, and we're asking peace activists to table at the event. No offense to anybody here, but it would be nice to see people without gray hair on the demonstration line. So,
wait, you want the gray hairs and the people without gray hairs, right?
So we had a very overwhelming response from young performers, and we're actually planning a second event in March. So if you know of any performers who would like to perform, have them get in touch with me. If you are an activist in any issue, social justice, peace, I thought of you as in your mouth. Get in touch with me, because I have a feeling this might be a continuing event. And the cinema is great to us. They'll welcome us anytime. And that's it. Thank you.
One or two things, and also questions if anybody else had announcements. Scott Carlin, who's a very unusual college professor, among other things, he doesn't want to talk tonight. And I can say that as the son of a college professor. I suggested that he talk about, he has a well-known climate solutions network that tries to bring together all the different work being done on climate solutions from different communities and have an exchange of information. It's worked very well as an incubator. A number of projects have actually spun out of it. You can talk to Scott over there in the corner if you're interested in that. Kimberly mentioned the CSA in Amityville, which was started by Sister Jean Clark, who was a very close friend of Susan's. They're actually having what's called the Holiday Happening tomorrow, which is the kind of shopping you can do for the holidays to make you feel good. It's good people selling good things, and that's up at the Mother House up in Amityville for Sisters of St. Dominic. Does anybody else have any other announcements that we need to do? Come on up. What's PeaceSmiths without some announcements?
Code Pink, December 22nd, is having a fundraiser. I think the time is around 7 p.m., so just Google Code Pink Long Island, and Willow will be singing there. Thank you.
Where will that be? Oh, at Shelter Island. At Shelter Island. What day is that?
The 22nd at Shelter Rock? Okay. Anybody else have announcements? Or are we ready to get back into the program? Because we still have a whole bunch of wonderful people here. And some of you will be watching this program. The PeaceSmiths show on Channel 20, Wednesday night at midnight, or on Harmony Rising, Saturday morning, 1 a.m. on Channel 20. The PeaceSmiths phone line is 631-798-0778. I don't see Max at the moment. Well, there's Max. Oh my, of course, he's got his head down and he's writing. Where else would that little county school what would be doing? Max, would you like to come over and read something for us? And then after Max, it'll be Mike Kornfeld, and then Andy Greenhouse. Max. Oh, that was our break. People seem to want to move on, is the impression I'm getting. You got a new poem? You want to come up and read it?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this is a new poem. I just finished it this afternoon, and which means it's still a poem in process. So afterwards, if anybody has any suggestions or response, I did comment, it would be helpful to hear that. Okay, the poem is in two parts. The Peaceable Kingdom. Part 1. They come among us. Despite this cosmos, its burning beam of blast and bang, its fire and fury stellar, galactic collisions, black holes, its rage and rampage human, surges, tanks. Yet these PeaceSmiths appear among us, apparitions of divinities driving, desiring to get this creation right. Part 2. The young prince discards his royal finery, abandons his throne for moss under a forest tree, meditates about the many deaths of each of the reincarnated. A PeaceSmith, Buddha. The young carpenter lays down his hammer and saw, walks the countryside, talks to the people, feeds the people with fishes and loaves of bread, Smith. Jesus Christ. A young pastor, Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, Montgomery, Alabama, takes his pulpit to the streets of Montgomery, Selma. More than 6 million miles traveled for 2,500 speeches. From steps of the Lincoln Memorial, I have a dream. One day, right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream of PeaceSmiths. Martin Luther King. Young British trained lawyer takes off his tie and top hat, makes his own clothes, traditional Indian dihati, shawl woven with chakar. 1930 leads Indians in 240-mile salt tax disobedience Dawn Salt March. 1942 leads Indians in open call for British to quit India. A PeaceSmith, Mahatma Gandhi, poet who writes of his Long Island with its Indian name, Pomona, sea beauty, stretched and basking. Mourns Abraham Lincoln with a small bird caroling in the pine grounds. Sing on, you gray brown bird, sing from the swamps, the recesses. Pour your chant from the bushes, limitless out of the dust, out of cedars and pines. Sing on, dearest brother, warble your reedy song, loud human song with voice of uttermost woe. A PeaceSmith, walk with me. From sheaves of flyers, she urges attendance, for which she goes to peddling her bicycle. Forums on school board races, workers' rights, homeless, health insurance, vigils at the Nassau County Jail for prisoner care, rallies and demonstrations, New York and Washington, for which she books the buses, the railroad cars. In 30 years, draws together activists, singers, poets, actors, comedians, storytellers, for her typical, atypical, folk music, poetry, and whatever coffeehouse. Pomona PeaceSmith. Susan Blake.
I've been informed in my anxiousness to hear Max that I messed up. It's got to be at least once tonight, so we found out when. You want to make an end to the announcement, and then we will actually take a 10-minute break, because I think that's what I'm supposed to do, and now I'll get it right. It's my fault. I wanted to hear Max. So, and please have it announced that the collections are being collected for Ellen Brad.
Alambe from BAI. Yeah.
And I did hear it on the radio,
Yes,
and I
it's on the
apologize.
radio.
Alambe Brad, BAI, and his wife.
Right.
And I believe they're doing something Sunday
Yes.
in the city. Once we get out there from Frank, and then we'll let you have a 10-minute break that I promised to mess up on.
Early November, I went to an MPA meeting about rate hikes, as you might have met. My alma mater, Celine Farmingdale, And I just found out they are having about a decision made later this month, the 19th. So we still have time to write. My only concern is not the rate hikes, nor the regular every other year cost of living rate hike. Merely the taking it off the backs of the massive MTA people that serve us. That's one of the notches they want to take away from, they want to more productivity from the workers. And I think we should write, no, not in that area. Okay, you just heard a week ago that the state is funding it more and that this and that. I urge you to maybe look at my letter and try to get it to your representatives well before the 19th when they make their decision. Thank you.
We'll be back in 10 minutes. We have more wonderful stuff, including one of the books, Act Sandy Greenhouse, who came in from the city to play for us.
Only your singing. Yeah, bad singing always gets everybody's attention. I'd like to bring Mike Kornfeld up. Mike is one of the behind-the-scenes people in folk music on Long Island, who helps keep everything moving. He's been an activist in a number of circles on Long Island for a long time, and he'd like to talk to us a little bit about Susan. Mike?
I guess I knew Susan for 25 years or more. The last time I saw her actually was over the summer. We were walking by the bandstand on Main Street in Bayshore, and she asked me when I was going to come back here and do one of my original song parodies that I write and perform annually in the Press Club of Long Island's holiday show, which takes place at the Hilton in Melville. And I thought tonight I would do one, but I decided instead of doing one of my own, and I've written a number of them and co-written them over the years, that it would be more appropriate to do one by a fellow writer of mine and humorist named Jim Merritt, who wrote this song that I'm going to do for you, wrote it for me to sing in last year's holiday show. And the reason I picked to do this one is because I know Susan was active, as many of you were, in the pickets outside the congressional offices of one of our local members of Congress, and he's sort of the focus of this particular song parody. And I sang it also with apologies to the Irish Rovers, who wrote the original song on which it's based, The Unicorn. Me name's Pete King, and I represent a bunch of Long Islanders of Irish descent. We don't like newcomers, our words we don't mince. It's time to deport all the immigrants. Now the El Salvadorans and Mexicans, they work in our restaurants and valet or Benz. They try to speak English and that makes us wince, and want to pass laws against the immigrants. Now a long time ago, we were new here too, along with the Swedes, the Italians, the Jews. We'll put up a wee wall now to keep them out, since we forgot that we used to be the immigrants.
Andy Greenhouse, we asked to come out and perform tonight a couple of songs for us to help anchor the evening down. And he's got his own cheering section. We're missing a bit. There's enough musicians in the room. If you need something, I'm sure we can find it. Everybody start doing this.
This song I dedicate to Susan. I think when I first sang it in public, I dedicated it to her. And it's called The Bicycle Song. Oh, wow. And she claims that she predicted the rhyme in the last verse. She said that before I said the word, she knew what it was going to be. The rhyme in the last verse. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to sing this song for you, where I tell you why I like to go riding on a bike. Hey ho, what do I know? I'm going to ride me a bicycle. Hey ho, what can I tell? I'm going to ride me a bicycle. It should come as no surprise that biking is good exercise. And whether you go slow or fast, bicycle is good on gas. And bicycles, they got another strong suit. Bicycles, they don't pollute. And lastly, cause I'm not yet done, bicycle riding is a lot of fun. Hey ho, what do I know? I'm gonna ride me a bicycle. Hey ho, what can I tell? I'm gonna ride me a bicycle. A lot of $20 words, but because of inflation, they're $60 words now. I'm very ecumenical when it comes to riding a bicycle. The Stingray 10-speed or mountain bike, just get on a bicycle that you like. I'm non-denominational and non-preferential, and I am non-sectarian too. Just get on a bike that's good for you. Hey ho, what do I know? I'm gonna ride me a bicycle. Hey ho, what can I tell? I'm gonna ride me a bicycle. So tomorrow, if you're free, do you want to take a bike ride with me? We'll go out on a bicycle spree, and we'll form a bicycle family. So tomorrow, if you feel uptight, a bike ride will make you feel alright. You'll never feel such inner bliss. Now, I don't know what's going through Susan's mind when she said that she guessed that rhyme, but she said, okay, let me do the last verse again. I think it was some one by an unpredictable rhyme. Okay. So tomorrow, if you're free, do you want to take a bike ride with me? We'll go out on a bicycle spree and we'll form a bicycle family. Oh, tomorrow, if you feel uptight, a good bike ride will make you feel alright. You'll never feel such inner bliss. It's better than a psychiatrist. Hey ho, what do I know? I'm gonna ride me a bicycle. Hey ho, what can I tell? I'm gonna ride me a bicycle. Hey ho, what do I know? I'm gonna ride me a bicycle. Hey, I tell you what I will do. I'm gonna ride me a bicycle. I'm a very self-conscious bad poet, and I know my meters roll off, and that's why No, I had originally written that it's better than a guru or a psychiatrist, but the meter was off, and I never really studied poetry, so I just kind of assumed that too many syllables. Unlike Richard Barnhart, the poet. Now this song's another song that Susan liked. It's called We're All Members of the Union. It's kind of the holiday season, so it kind of fits right in. And I kind of have a line that has, when I finish the song, maybe I'll sing it. It has to do with historical relativism. Kind of, if
Judeo-Christian tradition and somewhat of a historical religious way. Looks like that is small reactionary tradition. Okay. Oh, won't you sing this song? I know we're all members of the union. Be your voice it high or low. We're all members of the union. I sing for you, you sing for me, and this is how the world should be. Singing solidarity. We're all members of the union. We're all members of the union. Oh, let the freedom lights them shine. We're all members of the union. It's Hanukkah and Christmas time. We're all members of the union. And you know that Judas Maccabee, he didn't bow down to tyranny. He fought for human dignity. Must have been a member of the union. Must have been a member of the union. And Jesus Christ of Galilee stood by the poor and the hungry, was working stiff like you and me. Must have been a member of the union. Must have been a member of the union. And we're black, red, white, yellow, brown, and we're all members of the union. And the bosses, they can't push us around, cause we're all members of the union. I stand by you, you stand by me, and that's how the world should be. One big human family. Well, we're all members of the union. We're all members of the union. I fight for you, you fight for me, and that's how workers around the world should be. And we'll build a brand new world to see. Well, we're all members of the union. We're all members of the union. Oh, won't you sing this song? I know we're all members of the union. Keep your voice in high or low. We're all members of the union. I sing for you, you sing for me, and this is how the world should be. Singing solidarity. We're all members of the union. We're all members of the union. We're all members of the union.
The Maccabees, though, were murderers.
Well, that's the one I was going to sing. As a matter of fact, Mitch, now that you mentioned it, it's directed towards. You know that Judas Maccabee was a lot like I told of Kimberly. He was from a different century. Red, white, white.
Yeah, they go to Hillside Reverie. I think Susan really would like it. One more. Hillside Reverie. That was Susan's favorite. Trust me. She loved that song. So you do it so well at Christmas time.
Yeah, you.
First thing I heard was play.
Anybody know Susan's birthday?
18.
Okay, I have another song that we do. This is another holiday song. After naming two people in this song, I'm going to name Susan and then we'll end it.
I'm going to have Susan.
What?
I'm going to have Susan.
No, this guitar is going out of tune. Is it raining or something?
Temperature, man, you know.
It's really maybe our opposite. Okay. What was the year was Jesus born? Last month of the year.
What was the year was Jesus born? Was the last month of the year? Got January, February, March, April, and May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Was the 25th day of the year? December was the last month of the year. Was the last month of the year. Now some hard-ass religious fanatics, they realized that Christmas was really from this very paganistic holiday when people used to have orgies and the poor used to riot. So they kind of outlawed the holiday. And their justification for it was that there was nothing in the New Testament that ever said that Jesus was born on December 25th. That's really true. That in some of the colonies, like I think in Massachusetts, Christmas used to be a legal holiday. You know, because I think it was actually something inherited from Oliver Cromwell. I think when Cromwell was in power, he outlawed it for the same reason. So just Pilgrim's Progress. What was the year when Jesus born? Last month of the year. What was the year was Jesus born? What's the last month of the year? We got January, February, March, April, and May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December was the 25th day of the year. December was the last month of the year. What's the last month of the year? Said what month of the year was Martin born? Last first month of the year. What month of the year was Martin born? First month of the year. Said he fought for a better world to see. His dreams in the hands of you and me. His dreams in the hands of you and me. Every day of the year. Every day of the year. What month of the year was Martin born? First month of the year. What month of the year was Martin born? First month of the year. Oh, he fought for a better world to see. He gave his life for you and me. And his dreams in the hands of you and me. Every day of the year. Every day of the year. Now, what month of the year was Susan born? June.
1953.
What month? June. 6 months. 6 months of the year.
Susan June Blake, I don't know what
Whatever the year was Susan born? 6 months of the year. What month of the year was Susan born? 6 months of the year. Oh, she fought for a better world to see, and she gave her life for you and me. And her dreams in the hands of you and me. Every day of the year. Every day of the year. Every day of the year.
Susan always said to me that Annie could trace his musical lineage directly to Woody Guthrie. Every time I hear him play, I know why. We're in the home stretch, folks. I got just up left on my list. Mitch, Linda, Rob, Les, Bob, Chris, and then Hope. So, Mitch, this time you're really up now, Mitch. Mitch, you're really up.
It's lovely always to be out here on Long Island. A bunch of us came out from Brooklyn today.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. So anyway, so this poem is in my new book, which is coming, my new poetry book, which is coming out in about 2 weeks. This is my old book that I read from last year when I was here, and it's dedicated to Susan, this poem, and it's about all of this and more about Susan, but it needs help since everything does. So I'm going to ask this from Bob over to this side of the room to just go, like when I signal, if you go and just whine it, like stay home. So just say stay home, just in a whine. This side of the room, let's try it. Stay home. It's not a very good whine. Come on, Linda, you could have even whining. You're a great whiner.
No, the great yeller.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So if people could just do that, and if this side of the room could just say, they said, it's not as quite dramatic.
They said.
Yeah, you don't have to whine that they said, so stay home. They said. All right, so the they said follows immediately after their whine. Okay, so let's see how this works. I never did it this way before. Okay. They said. Don't go to the demo on Saturday. It's too cold. You'll go to jail. You'll miss 24 and never know what new inventive ways Kiefer Sutherland will torture his latest enemy and save the world. They said. There's ice everywhere. Nothing is working. Watch TV. How cold it is outside. Everyone all together now. Stay home. They said. They said. Don't walk your goldfish. E. coli are frozen in the trees. Even the malathion is cracking off. Air is crystal. Lungs not used to it. You will die unless you stay home. They said. They said. It's very, very windy. Wind chill factor minus 5,000 degrees. Sun too bright will bounce the ice. Jiggle memories will upset you. Stay home. They said. Watch TV golf from Vega Baja or maybe bowling. Don't go out to read your poems. Metaphors will stick in your teeth and break off like stalagmites, and it will be very, very painful. Besides, your poems are not really that good anyway. And you can't afford the dentist, and you can't afford the movies, and you can't afford to be arrested. 42,000 cops on prowl today gunning for terrorists. You may be one, even if you're not from Afghanistan. And there's nowhere to throw away your garbage. Bombs in the garbage cans. And there's nowhere to mail a letter. Bombs in the mailbox. And there's nowhere to go to the toilet. Bombs in the pipes. Customers only anyway. Especially don't take the train. Traffic lights are stuck green. Huge chunks of ice are falling from Manhattan Bridge. Science report. Cold contracts. Tracks may collapse. You will certainly plunge into the East River, which is very, very cold, and no one will help you. Stay home, they said. Block the windows. Duct tape them up. Don't look out. You will turn into a pillar of ice. Stay home. Read the calendar. Read the calendar between commercials. Don't let nature touch you. Don't let anything touch you. You might get smallpox. You might get mugged. You might get SARS. You might get West Nile. You might get anthrax. You might get drafted. Wait till we say it's safe. It's secure. Stay inside. Check your email. Again, wave the flag. Watch TV. I forgot to. I was going to try to end it with one side singing the Star Spangled Banner and another side doing the Pledge of Allegiance at the same time, but I think it might be too much. Try it. No, sorry. Thank you.
Are you on the LSB?
Yeah.
Mitch is also on the WBAI Global Station Board. Right. Okay.
If anybody didn't get your ballots, there are hundreds of people who didn't get ballots. I got 2. Yeah, some people got 2, some people got 3. If you didn't get ballots, talk to me and give me or send me an email. And we have a lawsuit that's blocking to try and make them counted correctly. All the ballots now have been impounded, so giving everybody a chance to vote. So So please contact either me or Alex, and we'll be collecting more info on it. Thanks.
And I believe Linda is next. And
Great job.
After Linda, just to give a heads up, is Rob, and then Les. Thank you.
Okay, I'm also from VAI, and I am one of the producers there, so I'm considered an unpaid staff person. And I also do movie reviews for the website. That's what I do. So I wasn't really planning on talking tonight, but it'd probably be my only opportunity. I don't know. Okay, it'll probably be my only opportunity. And I knew Susan, and I did work with her on committees, but she also came to a party in Brooklyn and brought some people with her. I don't know if anyone here came with her. The Winner and Losers Party, right, for the LSB, right. The LSB is the listener and staff board that runs, well, it doesn't run VAI, but it thinks it runs VAI. And she arrived late. And this is what I want to talk to you about. I'm a woman, and I'm not going to come here and tell you, her great ideas and her this and her that. What impressed me about Susan was her generosity. She was incredibly generous. And she arrived with more food than I think you have here. And she took up in the kitchen. And I thought I had things organized or whatever. No. Well, I'm not in the kitchen anyway. I don't even cook. But she brought all this food and she said, oh, there's just nothing to it. And she put it on the place and she did this and she did that. And that place like woke up. I don't know how to tell you. Susan was generous. And tonight, it makes me think, what is generosity? What is generosity? And, okay, so we use the word freedom, and we use the word peace and justice, and we all have really good examples of when there isn't freedom, or when something is not just. But what is it in the positive? What is it that makes one person or one situation one of enhancement, one of freedom? I mean, we all have examples in our own heads of not being free. Not being free maybe in terms of children, in bills, or freedom in terms of being in a jail, or being at BAI at a meeting. But what is the essence of what we're talking about when we look at it in the positive? And tonight I realize we're talking about generosity. We're talking about being able to give to others. Give in terms of allowing them space. Give in terms of allowing them to come out, to be the people who they are, to enhance them, to enhance a party. A winners and losers party, and make it a more festive occasion. With her presence, that's what Susan gave. And she gave something else to us to remember. Her tenacity, her love of life, her determination to be here with us tonight. She wanted to live, and she wanted to do. And in my mind, she succeeded.
Linda, thank you. That's wonderful portrait. Rob is next, and then Les, and then after that, Rob has, I think, something special to share with us.
PeaceSmiths was the first lefty group that I joined back in 1980. So Susan Blake and we were fighting short on it. And Susan was always really great at getting buses down to Washington to Harrisburg, PA, back in 1980 on that first anniversary, and it was really tremendous. So I wrote this little piece in the Stony Brook Press, my old alma mater. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I came down there. It's like so back then, PeaceSmith had like some of the same people like Richard Barnhart and Andy are still around. But there's a lot of people like she had an alien on Marika. I don't know what happened to Marika. Marika had this like lovely little boy that worked down there, Cassidy. He was like 5. One day I was doing a breakdown at the coffee house, and I was talking to Frank Aurelio. I said, Cassidy's got to be like 32 now. That's really kind of trippy. I'll just, I got this piece in the Stony Brook Press. I got to make copies of it for the 20th. Susan was a major organizer for the peace trains to New York for the nuclear weapons demonstration in Central Park on June 12, 1982. We had a group of people, like 30 people, to get on Long Island Railroad Station, and we made them peace trains. So we had all these peace trains going into New York for that glorious day, and over 750,000 people took to Central Park to take a stand against the arms race and that perversion of resources that it represented. So, and to make a world of peace. So now, 22 years later, we were walking across Long Island for the Take Back the Night. Not Take Back the Night, that's a different thing. Return the Light to America. I need reading glasses now. So I'm getting older too. I start to make noises.
Our big will never be old.
So, and, okay. So 22 years later, we were, okay. I hate reading. I like talking instead. So 22 years later, we were walking across Long Island for a peace walk. Return the Light to America, and we walked to Orient Point and Montauk Point, and we confronted the Republican convention. We met up with all these other groupie people. So I guess, Susan was a mentor to me, and I guess when we'll talk about PeaceSmith House 27 years ago, and the 22 years in between, it's like Susan always was like there, and she was always like, kept on keeping on. Okay, so here's a picture of Susan at the Bean. We organize a Bean every year, and we have progressive political panel in the middle of it with all our music. There's Susan's Bill McNulty over there, with some Bill. And oh, by the way, tomorrow is John Lennon Day, so we're having a celebration of the Bean in the city in the apartment of Marjorie Elliott on Edgecombe Avenue on 160th Street between 3 and 6. George and Julius will be there. Alan Rudolph Jones will play also. They're great jazz musicians. So if anybody wants to come up and be part of that, come up. 555 Edgecombe Avenue, apartment 3F. C-Trim, 160th Street. So I just like PeaceSmiths House. First lefty group I joined. Susan was there, Mike Stem, and John Burke was here. John Burke Society, but he left. So, Mark Finkel. I just heard that laugh, I had to say Mark Finkel, but I bet him there too. So cool.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for that. Thank you for the article sharing Susan for the community. Les is up next, and Ahmed and Chris Garvey is, here comes Les. And Les, I just love that t-shirt. I have one hanging in my closet.
I met Susan Blake going into Manhattan. She was sitting with Catherine Smith in front of me on the train. And they had all kinds of political buttons in their hat. And I said, wow, those are great buttons. Would you like them? We have a group on the island called PeaceSmiths. Why don't you join? So I did. We used to have meetings in the basement, political meetings, and then Coffeehouse started, then phone started. The political meetings were pretty frenetic. A lot of energy, a lot of disagreement, a lot of intensity, to the point where I stopped going to PeaceSmiths for a year altogether. I just said, that's it, I got to rest. I came back to PeaceSmiths, and I've been since. Susan was a dynamo. She did anything and everything it seemed like that. Amazing energy and tenacity was already mentioned. Ability to organize things. Some of it was kind of maddening when you wanted to help out. And, no, the microphone does not go here, it goes here. Okay, that kind of stuff, kind of this, so you stop moving the microphone and you just blow it off. To deal with the bus companies, to deal with the trains, to deal with all the meetings that she went to back and forth and all the bush. No bicycle. A bicycle and a train, that's for transportation. I don't know how she did it. She's amazing. She was wonderful. She was inspirational. And she really missed a lot.
Thank you, Wes. Yes, we all do this. I'll play it up next, then Chris, then Sue reading something from our played via Andy's guitar.
Yeah. What are we going to do next? Here's the question. As now that Susan's gone, carrying on the work isn't enough, but how are we going to bring the ideology into fruition? How are we going to bring peace to the world? And I'm going to sing a song that sadly is 35 years old. It could have been written yesterday. Oh, thank you, Andy, for loaning me your instrument. Be kind to this is fine. I've never played Martin before. You got a little blue pill for this microphone stand? I don't expect me to get it excited. Got a quarter? Get it. Well, so you got one here. That's not good. Once again, I had to go into my pocket for PeaceSmiths. I'll put progressive movement. Signs don't punish me. can't live long. You know you've got to find a way to bring some love in here. Oh, think it's nice and think it's time. Don't profile me with brutality. Talk to me so you can see what's going on. What's going on, baby? What's going on? I want to know what's going on, yeah. What's going on? Yeah. I'll sing a song about my favorite subject real quick and then I'll move on. Is anybody else? We'll play all night. I'll move on. All night? What the world needs is a little more love. I guess you wonder where I've been. I searched to find love within. I came back to let you know. Got a thing for you, and I can't let go. My friends wonder what is wrong with me, 'cause I'm in the days from your love, you see. I came back to let you know. Got a thing for you, and I can't let go. People go around the world for love, but they never find what they dream of. What you won't do for love. You tried everything, but you don't give up. In my world, only you make me do for love what I would not do. My friends wonder what is wrong with me, 'cause I'm in the days from your love, you see. I came back to let you know. Got a thing for you, and I can't let go. Though I only want the best, it's true. Can't believe the things I do for you. What you won't do for love. You tried everything, but you don't give up. In my world, only you made me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. For love of Jesus.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Come very forward. Chris Garvey's next. Then a poem from Mara, then Gail. Chris? Fresh from Pakistan.
Yeah,
people have been asking me about Susan. It's sort of an expression of solidarity with the Pakistani lawyers who had their court system so overthrown by the ex-general. And they wear a black jacket and a black tie and a white shirt. The button is Ron Paul, who's my current cause, and he is the only pro-peace Republican candidate. So all you guys who are registered Republicans, raise your hands. So you won't be able to vote for Ron Paul on February 5th in the primary. Let's see, of course the black suit is also appropriate for a memorial, but I was wondering, considering Susan's sense of humor, if it's too somber. So tell me, is this suit too somber for this occasion? Let's see, Susan was an atheist, and so I don't want to necessarily go against her beliefs, but it wouldn't be the first time I've had some contact with, or some apparent, or some strange coincidences after somebody's death. Within 12 hours of Susan passing away, I was going through my email and I clicked on a link, and I don't know how I got to that link, but it was a story of Morris Fishbein, who suppressed the cure for cancer back in the 30s by a guy named Royal Raymond Reese. And considering that Susan died of cancer, I thought it was awfully strange that this thing came up.
That's no relation to the Fishbein project.
No, she says not. She had seen it. But I left the pages over there which have the link on it, and the whole story is stapled over there. In the 30s, Royal Reese created a 60,000 power optical microscope and was studying viruses and was able to, while observing living viruses, which is something you can't do with an electron microscope, dial in a radio frequency specific to each of the 72 viruses he studied and blow them up with radio resonance, explode them and wipe them out. And he cured, he found that there was a specific virus which was necessary to the growth of tumors. And when he found the resonant frequency of that particular virus, he called it the mortal oscillatory rate, he was able to blow up the cancer virus and cure tumors, which he induced in various animals using this virus. Cured all the animals and proceeded to cure 14 humans in the same way in a matter of 90 days. So I thought it was very coincidental that right after she passed away, this link would pop up with that explanation on my email. So you might look into that story if any of you happen to have the capability of duplicating the AMA suppressed his treatment. Morris Fishbein was the president of the AMA, and when he tried to shake down Reese wouldn't be shaken down, and so his research was illegally confiscated by a local sheriff, and then he started having break-ins to sabotage his microscope, and his research has been mostly lost, but something you guys may want to look into.
What was his first name?
Raymond Royal Reese, and the link to the story is over there on the table. So that's basically what I plan to say. If you'd like, I could extend the proceedings with a long poem or a song, or maybe just a haiku.
A haiku.
Haiku, okay. Time of Halloween. Scary creatures abound. Some will be elected.
Chris, thanks for a haiku that could bring us all together. We have a poem from Mara. I think it'll read the Sherry reading it, and then after that Gail, and then David. No, and then Ann, and then Billy, and then you.
Mara asked me to read this, and
say enough that it was for Susan. She really wanted me to stress that. But I think she must have said something else and I forgot, so bear with me. All right, human rights. Well, you know the work that Mara and her husband do, shutting down the SOA. Do not forfeit your right to live with peaceful joy, with tears and laughter, with purpose and view of the ever after. Learn how to love and how to give. Do not forfeit your right to live. Do not pay homage to rage, to sorrow. Save a few memories for tomorrow. In every moment, play your part. For glory, do not forsake your heart. Embrace the now with delight. To love, do not forfeit your right. Do not forfeit your happiness. Don't live your life in token shadow. While there is sunshine in the meadows, even if you are penniless, for life itself is pure happiness. Do not forfeit your right to pray. If obstacles happen on the way, there is no sin in honest toil. Sow all the seeds in fertile soil. Then share your bounty with thy neighbor. Do not forfeit the joys of labor. Do not forfeit your right to live. Cherish your days, then close the chapter before embracing the ever after. Do not forget, but forgive. Thus you can earn your right to live forever.
Thank you, Mara, wherever you are, and thank you, Sharon, standing in. Gail is next, and then David. Good job.
Oh yes, hi. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm a poet and artist also. And I miss Susan. She was such a great person. So this is my tribute to her. Susan is in heaven with her mom now. She is in peace now for the PeaceSmiths. She is looking down and smiling with her favorites piling. I feel close to her because my middle name is Susan. I enjoy nature and helping people too. I like kids and animals. I smile often. I hope I get a big turnout when I die too. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Gail, I'm sure you did a wonderful turn. If I'm still around, I'll try and go.
But not so soon.
But not too soon. Okay. David, then Ann, then Billy, then Frank.
Thank everyone for organizing this beautiful tribute to Susan tonight. Frank, your idea to make this the front of the room, I think was a great idea. I really told him that. Kimberly doing a great job, Ian as well. It's ironic that the celebration for Susan is tonight because this is also, for all you sports fans, maybe there's a couple of others here besides me, this is Jimmy V week. And Jim, that's honoring Jim Valvano. Harvey knows Jim Valvano. Yes, he was the North Carolina State basketball coach, won the 1983 NCAA championship, and he died of cancer also much too soon, barely 10 years later. And he was a New Yorker, and like Susan, he had a lot of passion and a lot of energy. He was also successful and inspired a lot of people. So I just wanted to mention how fitting it was. I thought that it all came together. This week they had the Jimmy V Classic at, where was it? And I think it might have been at the Meadowlands. I don't know if it was the Meadowlands or Madison Square Garden, but they had that this week. And I guess the website is, if you want to learn more, is www.jimmyv.org. But let me mention something important. ESPN highlighted a story, because, all the money raised by the Jimmy V Fund goes to research, and they were able to isolate a gene. His daughter had breast cancer, and they were able to isolate the gene that was causing it, and she's, more or less
I guess cure, at least on a road to recovery, was only discovered a couple of years ago. So this research does help, and I don't know if this is a phone number for all year round, just this week, but the 800 number is number 4 GDB, and you can also look at the website. I just thought it all kind of came together this way. They're very big. All right, thank you very much.
The last two speakers reminded me of a couple of things. PeaceSmiths is a nonprofit and as such is nonpartisan, which it defines as being multi-partisan, having all voices. It does not endorse any particular candidate, but allows a forum for the broad range of candidates, much broader than we hear in the corporate media, some of us call it, to speak. So that's why you hear different candidates mentioned, because we allow all voices here. A couple of other things. The forum, just a clarification, if you want to know, is always the third Friday of the month. So if we can't figure out what number that Friday is, check the third one. Except for December, when there isn't going to be a forum, so don't come here on the third Friday. The coffee house that we're at now is always the first Friday of the month at the First United Methodist Church in Amityville from October to June. I don't remember my months. Andy's song should help me with that. Up next, after David, is Ann, then Billy, then Frank.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to say hello to the regulars and the irregulars. We didn't hear that tonight, but it's something that I always enjoy that Susan said. Just like to tell you how I met Susan. It was at the inception of the West Nile virus scare and when we were being sprayed with pesticides. And I was a core member of an organization called Healthy Planet, which is now, or rather it was Earthsave, now Healthy Planet. And I had gone to a meeting that Susan attended with Tim Bishop and also the head of the health department in Nassau County. And about a week prior, I had heard her basically say that it would be perfectly fine to walk outside, follow behind one of these trucks spraying pesticides. It's perfectly safe. And a lot of information had come out in the interim week to basically discredit that statement. And so I stood up and insisted that she retract that statement, given the information that had come out. She refused to do it. Well, at the end of the meeting, Susan came over to me and said, I just had to know who you are. You were so wonderful and so outspoken. And ever since that meeting with Susan, we just were the fastest friends and had so many sensibilities that we shared. And I really miss her. And what I really loved about Susan, and you can just tell by the number of people, the diversity of the people that she knows, is that she accepted everyone where they are, you know, regardless of their creed, and it never really subscribed to one thing or another. And I think that was the power of Susan. And she just tried to bring everyone together for the common cause. And had a dream about her last night. And it was just wonderful to be with her and to see her. And I love you, Susan. Thank you.
I just want to say that I met Susan. She used to come to my bakery for croissant some 22 years ago. And she'd come on her bike and colorfully dressed. She actually lived right behind. And so one day she was there and this little guy, Barry, came walking along and we were talking. And it turns out that, you know, she hadn't seen this guy Barry in a long time. They just happened to run into each other. And they started to tell me a story. And I don't think anybody knows this about Susan. That Barry was drowning in the Great South Bay, and Susan saved his life. So that was one of the other amazing things that Susan did. And also she was very generous to me when I needed help. And she was a good friend, and she was very witty and a wonderful person to argue with and eat with and, you know, just hang out with. So just thank Susan. I just wanted everybody to know that she saved someone's life.
I think Susan probably touched and saved a lot more lives than we know.
think so. But thank you for sharing a very visible example of that. And next we have Billy and then Frank.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to tell you how I met Susan, which basically I was listening to WBAI one night, radio in England, right? And some guy came in from the West Coast, and he didn't have a singer. He didn't bring his guitar. He couldn't bring his guitar on the plane, right? So does anybody out there have a guitar for this guy? So I could do that. So I call in and they say, well, we got a guitar for him to play on the show tonight, but he needs a guitar to play someplace called PeaceSmiths tomorrow. And the PeaceSmiths, and I said, you know, because I've been to a PeaceSmiths in like 1970, and I didn't know where it was anymore. And so okay, I can do that. And I call up, and somebody tells me to go somewhere and pick up this acoustic guitar and bring it here. And I do, and I meet Susan, who looked really familiar to me, and I looked familiar to her. We never figured out when we first met each other. And, you know, do you remember who the guy was? Anybody remember the guy? Who's the Bush It guy? Yeah, that song, Bush It? Yeah, right. I can't remember his name, but that's how I met Susan. I bought the guitar. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Darryl Turney, yeah, that was his name, yeah. And, yeah, I bought the guitar for that, and she said, well, you know, and it was a forum, too. It wasn't even a coffee house. And so she says, we have this, like, coffee house thing. And I said, boy, I really like this. This is really fun. I want people really nice. So this is about, around, yeah, I said it would be about November 2001. And I've been coming ever since. And Susan would really like the turnout tonight. She would be very happy. See this, I'm sure she is. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
And I think Susan will be very proud in spite of our best efforts that we ran past midnight. Sorry. And I can't think of anybody else who's more central to the running of this coffee house than Frank.
Why should I answer that?
Who else should end the night? I can't think of anybody better.
I've often been accused of being obtuse. Hopefully I won't be tonight. I have 4 poems. Hope I don't put you to sleep or chase you away. Titled 120 Cottons. 120 or 150 originally, minus 10 here, 20 there, and 40 more recently. Its original home perhaps did turn out to be unsafe. Cumbersome and vast, mere many sheets of printed paper depict many lives before us, valiant, discouraged, persistent, lethargic. In common all, the concept of the community, paper with relative toxic ingredients. There are many worse ingredients to burn. Referring to the PeaceSmiths library collections. Lack of communication. To begin no Britain at all, there were Saxon and sorcerer, there were fair maiden and warrior, there was darkness in the forest, there is intrigue among the companions. All were with or were against Arthur and his Britons. Question mark. There was 2 hordes that came together, one prevailed. The leader victorious welcomes all to peace. Victor vanquished young and old. They revel in union, celebrate with joy the end to war. All Britons, one and all. This I state from a radio, I sort of like rehashed a radio story that 5th century leader. And I'm contributing it as an ode to America and Iraq today, my translation into Arabic, anyone? How about Kurdish? A common German tongue, not germane today. Hey, alas, globalization joy is here to stay. Lack of community. Replace the whiteys in Iraq. No Syrians, Jordanians, Saudi Arabians, no Kuwaitis, Iranians, or Turks. But most definitely no Europeans, not even those of European descent. Still you have, look, so many Muslim armies abound. You have Indonesia, Singapore, Bangladesh, the People's Republic of China, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Mauritania, Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, Bahrain, Qatar, the Emirates, Oman, Yemen, Djibouti, Somaliland, and Somalia, Malaysia. Just have America pay the bill. The last one, guys. 11/10/2007, I wrote this. Put America on trial, I beg. Impeach. Reveal all the lost me. It will deceit, rave. If the American system is worth anything, share the news. On trial can hurt, but is truth so deadly to fear? Let the world be dying judge, come clean America. Or would the system collapse irreparably? Then be done with it, material mentor America. Land of the free, home of the brave, what of integrity? I impeach, I implore, war nevermore.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you for everything. Okay, last call. I'm a little punchy at this point, so I got to ask, did I miss anybody who wanted to speak, sing, poet, anything?
One last thing.
Of course, Mark.
All remember before the evening is out, peace cash beats capitalist trash.
Thank you, Mark. We'll take that home.